What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Here with your boy Dano, giving you the best content that you're going to find on the internet. If you give me 10 minutes, I promise you're going to stay for the entire episode because it is going to be a very intimate, and this episode is just about ultimate happiness. And I'm going to give you all of my tips that I think you need in order to achieve happiness every single day, and not just happiness. Because anybody can be happy, right? It's about fulfillment. It's about passion. It's about joy and everything that we need to live this life in order to really experience all of the great gifts that this life and this world has to offer, and how to just make sure we're enjoying every step of the process, even all the good ones and all the bad ones, right? And I put quotes around bad and good because there's no such thing as good as bad, right? And I'll explain that a little bit later. But we just absolutely imbue and we determine what value goes into what, right? And I'm going to be giving you guys all the tips that you need and really diving deep into what it means to be resilient, to be positive, and just have that sense of fulfillment and that purpose. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. I really appreciate all of you. And I'm going to tell you everything that's been going on because there's been a lot that has been happening. And I'm just very excited to share it with you guys. So here we go, everybody. Thank you for being here, and it's time for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Let's get it, everybody. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, we do appreciate every single time that you guys do watch because it's all fun. And it's just, I love the energy that you guys bring week in and week out. And I'm just so excited. So many things have been happening, whether you want to consider them challenges or obstacles. It's just been all a learning experience is the best way to put it. We have for the past few episodes, we've been using a different streaming service that we normally use. And now we're back to the OG one, the original one that we used for about, for the entire 3 years that we're on the show. So it's so nice to be back with that. And let me tell you guys, there's just so many things happening. If you can go check any of the recent episodes that were just kind of like, I don't want that to happen. But all of it, like I said, was a learning experience. So it's nice to be back here with a nice, reputable streaming service. I really appreciate all of you being here and sticking through it. Just so many things have happened. We're supposed to have Dan DV on tonight. Well, I guess we weren't supposed to, because if we were supposed to, then he would have been here, right? But unfortunately, he had food poisoning and he couldn't make it for tonight. So make sure you send all of your love and your positive energy for a quick and speedy recovery for Dan. And he is actually coming here to Philadelphia next week because he's having the Gaze in Space event where it's all about, representation and diversity and inclusion with the whole multimedia industry, whether that's film or just all of the things that entail multimedia. And I'm so excited to go over there and check it out. And I got some great news for you guys. I don't know if I can reveal it just yet, but just stay tuned. And if you follow me on social media, you'll be able to see all the updates that we have coming out for that. And yeah, so that was one thing. So Dan, I hope you're feeling a lot better. Just get well soon. But just over the past couple of weeks, it's just been like such an interesting time here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Out of the entire 3 years, it's just some things that you just can't plan for. And it's just so awesome to be able to share that with you guys. So if you ever wanted your own television show as well, or talk show, just be prepared for the things that are going to happen that we really don't see coming or we can't account for. But it's all about how we respond to these situations, right? It's not that when we do have a positive mindset, that we're oblivious to the fact that things are not going to happen the way that we would prefer them to. Because I just think that's insanity if you were to think that, or you're just naive. But it's all about how we respond when these things do happen to us. Because when we know that anything that happens to us is serving us for our greatest and highest good, even though if it works out the way that we don't prefer it to, then we still understand that it's all working out in our best interests. So yeah, so it's just been absolutely amazing. Thank you, Jeanette, for being here. Yes, we wish him a very speedy recovery from his food poisoning, because I know that I don't want to be where he is right now. I'll tell you that. So get well soon, and thank you so much, guys, for lighting it up. You got Lou here, hashtag positivity posse. Thank you, Jeanette, hashtag positivity posse. This wouldn't be possible without you guys commenting live, and for everybody watching on the replay as well. It's just been such a great experience. We have a lot of things coming up. There's an event that I want to tell you guys about. In addition to the Gaze in Space event, there is the second annual Spring Fling event that It Takes a Village Housing is going to be putting on for us on April 27th. And when I tell you that event is going to be absolutely amazing, it's not for so many reasons. Number one, I think they're going to have probably double or more than double the amount of vendors that they had last year. And once that flyer is up and running, I'll be able to share that with you guys. But yeah, double the amount of vendors, double the amount of people, good energy, great spirits, and just a great community event so that people can come out to learn about the different organizations and businesses that are here in the city of Camden, that you can learn more about, just in case you don't know. If there's a service that you might need, insurance service or whatever it is, it's a great time to go out there. There's going to be food. There's going to be, a gaming truck, all of these great activities going on for your entertainment. And yes, I'm going to be the MC of that event. So that just makes it that much better. And thank you to It Takes a Village Housing for the opportunity as well. And if you guys don't know It Takes a Village Housing, you should know, because we always play their commercial week in and week out. It's this one right here. It's that commercial. So if you don't know it by the music, I highly encourage you to come out. If you are here inside or near the city of Camden on April 27th, that's a Saturday. I believe it's from 11 to 2, if I remember correctly, but you'll see the flyers circulating around. So that's another great thing. I'm going to be in actually LA coming up very, very soon, in about a month or a month and a half. So it's just been all pouring in all at once. And I'm just so grateful for all of the things that have been happening. So like I said, from the very interesting time that we've had here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV to all of the successes and great things that have been happening, it's all for my greatest and highest good. And that's why I'm able to really determine that in my life. And I encourage you to do the same thing as well, because whatever may be going on in the way that we prefer to or not prefer to, it's all serving you for your greatest and highest purpose. So with all of that being said, we have a lot that we need to cover in such a short amount of time, because as you know, here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, the hour flies, and it really just feels like 10 minutes that we're talking and really diving deep into the story of the guest, or the stories that I have to share with you, the tips, the advice, all of that good stuff. It just flies by. So let's get right to it. I'm going to structure the show just to guys let you know we're going to be talking about 6 main topics. And I'm just going to share with you some ideas or tips or strategies that we should do in order to achieve that kind of happiness, that sense of fulfillment, purpose every day that we've come on this earth to actually fulfill and to live out. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about today, here are the 6 main topics. So number 1, we have the power of positive thinking. Number 2, we have overcoming obstacles. Number 3, just resilience and kind of how to cultivate resilience. Number 4 is some manifestation tricks and techniques that I want to give to you that I know have worked for me, and I've achieved a lot of great things that I couldn't even see coming in these short 3.5 years. It's wild just to even hear that term, 3 years, 3.5 years. This really doesn't even feel like it. Just when you're having so much fun, it just really flies by. The next one is number 5, which is going to be living with purpose. And number 6 is self-reflection. So if there's something that you want to talk about as well, just make sure you are leaving a comment inside the comments. You can comment on Facebook or on YouTube as well. So just thank you so much for being here. I know a lot of the comments that I see right now are coming from Facebook. So Thank you so much for being here and dropping this wisdom and just this extra sense of positive energy that we do need in this world. Because if depending on what you look at or depending on what you focus on, it is very easy to find some of the things that may not be, full of love or full of gratitude. But with here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, we've cultivated and created this safe spot for all of us to come on to comment and just to feel kind of what that love is and just to pour into each other while we're going along in our journeys. And like I said, here on every Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, it is just so great to be able to share this time with you. And then we have Jeanette here that says it's where attention goes, energy will flow, definitely 100%. And that's why when we're focused on the good, we will just receive more of it, right? That's the law of attraction, which I actually don't have on here, but we can talk a little bit about that later on as we're going about. So we're just going to hear a word from our first sponsors before we dive into the first topic, which is the power of positive thinking. So just make sure if you have any questions or comments to drop them along as we go along through the show. And I just want to give one more shout out and fully play the promo piece for It Takes a Village Housing. And I'm really excited for this event on April 27th. So here it is, everybody. Our first sponsor, It Takes a Village Housing. And after that, we are going to dive really deep into the content that we have planned for each other for today. So here it is. It Takes a Village Housing.
Takes a village about keeping our families together.
God bless this organization.
So again, thank you to It Takes a Village Housing for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV and for having this great event that you're going to have on the 27th, because it's going to be a blast. I've been to the last one. I have really high hopes for the next one, and it's going to happen that way as well. So now let's dive into it. We're going to talk about the power of positive thinking. And my first tip, in order to make sure that we are, practicing that power of positive thinking, is to practice gratitude. And I know in so many different cases in our lives and wherever we are, it's so easy to focus on the things that may not be going our way. But when we practice that sense of gratitude, number one, we're raising our vibrations, whatever we're vibrating at, which is hopefully love. But in case we're not, we get to shift whatever is going on in our lives. And as we all know, when we change our inner world and when we change the level or the wave that we're vibrating at, that we know everything on the outside will just continue to reflect what's going on our inside, right? So if we are not thinking positively and we are kind of at that negative mind space, then that's when things can start to happen that we would not prefer them to. So, I always use the classic example of getting a flat tire, or maybe chaos or confusion happens in your outer world with your relationships, whether that's with your family, with your friends, significant others. It can be, something as you start to develop, kind of an illness or disease. And that's literally, if you look at the word disease, that's what it is, right? Dis-ease. That's because you're not at that place of gratitude or happiness. And when we have that gratitude, then we can really start to be much more appreciative of what's going on in our lives. And that is when we change our point of attraction to make sure we are getting and focusing and receiving all of the things that we do want into this life, whether that's an abundance of money, right? Because that's what a lot of people want nowadays, and that's what we ask for. Or it can be, finding that significant other, or just really enjoying the journey of everything that's going on in our lives. And I know when you practice gratitude, man, just try it for yourself. We can all think of that time where we were just so happy and just had that sense of living in the moment and just being appreciative of what we had, whether that's because we saw somebody else that might have been suffering and then we started to appreciate what we had a little bit more. We don't have to wait until those things happen in order to practice it right now. So like I said, when we practice gratitude, that is the first step that I think we need to do in order to practice having that positive mindset. And yeah, so the next part that the next recommendation that I think we need to practice more of is really overcoming negative thought patterns. Now, a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about are easier said than done, but it's about identifying what that negative thought pattern is. And if you don't have that awareness that happens in our lives, then it's kind of going to be something that we gloss over when it pops up and when it happens. And I know like a lot of people say, okay, they're experiencing the same things over and over again. And I do firmly believe that life will start to continue and will continue to give you those kind of trip ups or those tests that happen in your life to see if you're actually being aware of what you need to change and actually implementing that change. So, in order to overcome the negative thought patterns, you have to see what you feel or how you feel during these things or encounters that happen to you, that happen in the way that we don't want to prefer them to. So, that can be as something as simple as a quick change to say, okay, well now, like I said in the one that you'll hear me talk about it all the time. If you haven't heard me say it 30 times already, I'm going to say it for the 31st time right now. Is that everything is working out for us, and when we really start to implement this change, and we kind of rewire our brains to have that new positive thought pattern, number one, we'll just quickly revert to that as our default. And then number two, it'll help us get through anything that we're trying to get through in our lives. And negative thought patterns just happen so in your face, or they can be something is really subtle. And it just happens with so many things. And I know when it comes to financial prosperity in our lives, a lot of people kind of have that negative programming or that negative mindset or that negative thought pattern. So a great example that I can give to you guys is the ultimate one that I've heard, growing up, and it's this one: money doesn't grow on trees, right? And when we hear that phrase, or if somebody has said that to us in our lives, that is a negative thought and a negative programming, because that insinuates, and that's telling ourselves or telling other people that there's such a finite amount of money in this world, and it's not as abundant as what it should be in our lives. So when you say that money doesn't grow on trees, I don't agree with that statement, because you have to think about it, right? Depending on who you ask, the US is constantly printing billions and billions and sometimes even trillions of dollars a day. And if there's all this money being printed, and you hear about, Apple doing record numbers, or, Microsoft, or whatever it is, really what company, you hear them doing record numbers. So why is it that you can't receive some of that money as well, right? There's so much of it going on, and there's billions of dollars being traded every single day. So why is it that you are exclusive and you can't receive that money? Well, I can tell you it's because of the way that we're thinking, and that's a negative thought pattern. And there's so many other things that we can start to think about, and it's really up to you to dissect, and you have to think about what goes on in your mind at that time as you're experiencing it. But that takes a different degree of awareness, because if you're not aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, you're just going to constantly go through life being reactive and kind of reacting to the things that start to happen to you. But when we reprogram and we overcome those negative thought patterns, that is when we can, make that proactive change, and we will see life reflect those new and positive, thoughtful programming pieces that we've instated and implemented into our life. So there it is, everybody. And the last part of the power of positive thinking is, you have to cultivate optimism during hard times. And like I said, when you're dealing with family members or social media or just media in general, and all these things that have kind of been designed to really kind of have that pessimistic, point of view, then it's going to be hard. And that's why with the power of positive thinking, you need to develop a positive mindset. You need to overcome your negative thought patterns, and then practicing gratitude are the top 3 tips that I can give you guys in order to practice the power of positive thinking. And I know it sounds cool just to kind of say all of this, but it's ultimately about implementing, right? We need to implement these things into our lives. And if you have any as well that you want to share with me that you think is very important to really adapt to the power of positive thinking, and that you do to, implement that, please let me know. It's just so important, and I think we need it now more than ever. So let me know what it is that your techniques are, that your tips and your practices are to really have that power of positive thinking. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for putting that onto the screen, because it's so important, so important. And I think it's the biggest thing, the most important change that we need to adapt in any facet of our lives in order to really start to live our dream life and to really experience what the best things that this life has to offer for us. So there it is as well. Now we're going to move on to the second portion, or the second tip on what I think that we need to have in order to develop a positive mindset, and just really experience overall happiness and purpose, is number 2, overcoming obstacles. As I said earlier onto the show, maybe if you're tuning for the first time, if you're tuning in live and you didn't hear me say it, obstacles will start to happen in our lives no matter what we're going to do. And if you think that you're going to go through this life without experiencing an obstacle, then I have some bad news for you. It's not really bad, but I'm going to give you a piece of eye-opening news. You're incorrect. And if you don't believe me, life is definitely going to teach you that lesson, because that is when, things will start to happen that will be an obstacle. And I would really like to call them obstacles, because when you think of an obstacle course, something like the Spartan race or like a Tough Mudder, these people, or everybody, is able to complete the course, but you're just going to have to find a creative way and kind of have that grit in order to complete the course. So that's why I call them obstacles, because yes, they will happen to us, but that doesn't mean that we just have to lay down and kind of, just give up. We kind of have to find those creative juices and those creative ways to dealing with these obstacles in order to make sure that we are completing our goals and we are moving towards the direction to really live a life full of happiness, a life full of dedication, and a life full of prosperity as well. Whether that's a prosperity of financial gain, prosperity of, happiness, whatever it is, great connections, it's all leading us towards our best, our best lives. So some things that I want to give you guys in order to overcome the obstacles. Number 1 is developing a growth mindset. Now, there's a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and she talks about really the power of having a growth mindset versus having a fixed mindset. And I want to share that image with you guys right here. And here it is. So let me just go back to here to make sure that we are able to see it. Yes, right here. So here's some of the things that we can see that are involved with having a growth mindset. So number 1, mistakes help me learn. Feedback is valuable. Is this my best work? I improve with practice and I won't give up. Versus having a fixed mindset, which is I want to avoid making mistakes. I'll never be that smart. I know best. This is good enough. Or the worst one that you could possibly have with a fixed mindset is I give up. Now, obviously, it's nice to read these things and to just see what happens in our lives when we can read it from a piece of paper. But ultimately, we have to implement this point of having this growth mindset. Now, when it comes to overcoming obstacles, you can see how everything that's listed inside of this growth mindset is leading us towards overcoming this obstacle. So, when we have a mistake in our lives that we see on each side versus the growth and the fix, we have the mistakes help me learn, and the other one is I want to avoid making mistakes. You can kind of use that interchangeably with obstacles. So since I'm talking about obstacles right now, let's see what that looks like. So obstacles help me learn versus I want to avoid, I want to avoid obstacles. So all of this stuff that we should learn about and that we should go about going forward is, like I said, included in the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. And it's really talks about developing this growth mindset. So if you think that, like, people are born naturally a genius and that you're not able to develop this growth mindset, then whenever these obstacles do start to happen in our lives, you'll just see that you'll just lay there, or we won't really get the most value of what it is that this obstacle is supposed to teach us. And that's what I do with any obstacle in my life, right? Even with, I was sharing before, with the things that have been happening with Weekly Dose of Dano TV, and even the things that you don't see that I probably don't mention here on the show, all of these things are really teaching me something that I need to learn about myself. So that might be in the form of other people giving me that information that I need to hear. That might be in the form of experiencing something that I don't prefer in order to learn more about myself. So remember, when it comes to overcoming these obstacles, we need to develop a growth mindset. And like I said, the book by Carol Dweck will tell you more. I think I have that laying around somewhere. I know I do for a fact. So after the commercial break, I'll show you guys the book. So if you're interested in about learning more about that, then you can see the exact book to get. So that's the first one. In order to overcome obstacles as well, we need to find support and motivation during the times that these obstacles will happen in our lives. So if we don't have a support system that we feel is fit in order to really help us overcome these obstacles, you need to find that. And I know everybody's families aren't the best source of that support system, but there's so many different ways and different programs and strategies out there that we can use in order to find that motivation and that support. So I know there's a program called Discord, and I'm pretty sure there will be great different communities out there that you can find, whether it's Facebook groups or Discord or Facebook pages or even TikTok videos that we can look at to find positive content and find that group, that support group that we can have in order to overcome the obstacles. And even with like motivational, maybe you're not really into the support, or maybe you do have a great support system, but sometimes you don't have the motivation that you need in order to find, that spark every single day. Then that's where you can find, different YouTube videos or different pieces of content, just as Weekly Dose or such as Weekly Dose of Dano TV, in order to find that motivation to keep going forward. But whatever it is, you need to find that as soon as possible. I know some people do therapy. I know some people just go out there and they talk to different people, and it really is whatever it is that you prefer in order to find these different support systems and these groups. Because if you don't have that and we kind of just isolate ourselves, we all know that can just lead down a bad path, because you'll start to think things like, hey, well, nobody's really experiencing what I'm going through. Nobody understands me, and all of that nonsense. Because think about it. There's billions of people on this planet, and billions that have come before us and billions that will come after us. Are you really thinking that nobody else has experienced what you're experiencing right now? And I think it's kind of a negative, the negative forces want us to think that way, and they want us to be isolated, because then we won't get the help that we need in order to really overcome our obstacles and to really, flourish in this life. So that's my second thing. My second tip to everybody out there: you need to have a good group of people or a good support system that you need to do in order to find that motivation and that happiness every single day. And the last one for overcoming obstacles is definitely self-care. And that can be a myriad of different techniques and strategies that you have implemented to overcome these obstacles. Number one, I need to meditate, and my ultimate form of self-care is meditation. I treat this literally as eating, right? If I don't meditate, obviously if you don't eat or if you don't drink water, then eventually you're just gonna start to deteriorate, and you're gonna die at that point. But I treat meditation the same way, man. When whatever is happening in our lives, if I'm, facing an obstacle, and I do find that that obstacle is starting to get to me a little bit, and I'm thinking, damn, why is this happening? Or that person is being, XYZ, or it's just really starting to consume my mind and put me in a negative spot. Meditation is easily the best thing that you can do to stop vibrating at that negative space and letting that obstacle really take over your mindset. So if you haven't started today, please, meditation is the best thing that I can give you guys, or the best tip or practice that I can give you to overcome our obstacles. And I know some people do journaling, which I have been doing a little bit more, which has been great, but I just love my meditation. So whatever that self-care is for you, that can be going to get a massage, that can be going to, going to the gym because you want to really use that extra mental and physical energy to exert it and to give yourself that challenge. It can be whatever it is for you. I know some people will even do something as like fixing up a car or working on their cars. And whatever that form of self-care is for you, in order to really overcome that obstacle, you need to find it, you need to practice it, and you need to really spend that time to enjoy that form of self-care and just be totally immersed in that object or that practice that you need to do. Because if you're doing that form of self-care, but you're still thinking about the thing that's pissing you off or putting you in that negative mind state, then are you really, like, you're not really getting the full benefits of practicing that self-care. And you'll just be vibrating at that negative mind space. So there it is, everybody. Like I said, in order to overcome our obstacles, those are the best three tips that I think we should do in order to overcome any obstacle. And if you have a different piece of advice or technique or something that you want to let me know about, or maybe even a question, please drop it in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or if you even want to send me a text right now. I mean, I don't really look at my phone at all, but it might come through if it needs to come through as well. So whatever it is, just please leave that comment. And we're just going to hear a word from our second sponsor for today. And that sponsor is Great Success, because Great Success is such a great program and a great tutoring service for any student or any parent that wants tutoring services for their students. I know the guy very personally, Mark Hoberman. He is a master at teaching and at getting your kids to really find that leap and to really have that great success, not great success, but to have that great success, in the school industry, and just so your student can really be the best that they can be in the academic world and in the personal, private world as well. So here it is. Thank you, Great Success, so much for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And to everybody out there that might need their services, please reach out to them as soon as possible and watch how your kid flourishes with the power and the great organization that is Great Success.
At Grade Success, it's our job to make sure that your child succeeds in school regardless of the subject or grade level. Our tutors are trained professionals who know how to promote learning and encourage results. Whether you are looking for help with SAT, ACT prep, private and group tutoring, K-3 reading programs for your child, or educational consulting and college counseling, here at Grade Success, we can help you find the right answer. Visit gradesuccess.com to learn more about our in-person and online program options. Grade Success, where your child's success is our business.
So everybody, that was Great Success. And when I tell you, I'm going to let you guys know the next time that he has a masterclass or just a gathering where everybody can learn more about it, because you have to see the way that Mark presents. Absolutely out of this world. And when I was first going into it, I'm like, this is just going to be another, seminar of somebody just talking to me. And when I tell you that Mark absolutely lights it up and just blows it away, not only because he talks about, empowering your child, but he's been doing this since 1996, which is actually the year that I was born. I don't want to let him know that. But he has just practiced this over and over again. And he actually knows through experience what it takes to get your child to the next level as well. So thank you to Great Success as well for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. We really do appreciate it. And please, to everybody watching, reach out to Mark and he will get your kid right on the right track as well. And just give me 1 second. I just want to take a quick sip of my water. But the next topic that we're going to be talking about is resilience. And resilience is such a big piece to everything. And that is honestly, I think, what we have gotten is, or what has gotten us to this point right now. Because this point in time, we can think about, or I just want you to take the time to think about all the things that have happened into your life, and whether they were, something very serious to everything in between. If we didn't have that kind of piece of resilience, or we didn't have that mental fortitude, we would not have be, we would not be where we are today. And actually, I just want to play one more commercial for you guys while I take this drink of water, but we're going to do that for right now. For this next commercial that we play, I just want you guys to think about one of the things that have happened to you and how you kind of had that mental resilience in order to, overcome that obstacle. So everybody, I hope you thought about that thing that you needed to think about in order to really show yourself that you are resilient, and that is what has gotten you to the point to where you are today. So some of my biggest tips that I want to give you guys for resilience are as follows. The number one thing that I think you need to do is to really be easy on yourself, right? Whatever has happened into your life, you got to give yourself a little bit of compassion to say, all right, well, this has happened to me. Maybe, you attracted that thing that happened into your life, but you have to, give yourself a little bit of grace and honor to show that whatever has happened to you, make peace with it and kind of have that compassion with yourself. The second one that I got to give you guys is you have to find strategies in order to bounce back. So I know a lot of people nowadays really use those negative events that happen to them as fuel to develop that resilience. So you hear about rappers talk about it all the times in their songs. They'll say, my teacher told me that I'll never be anything, or, that their girlfriend cheated on them, or whatever it is that happens to them. They take those things, and that's a great strategy that you should use to use those negative experiences in order to use them as positive fuel. So like I said, that can be so many different things that have happened to you. So really use those words, and we'll take that example. If somebody has said something negative to you, they'll say that you'll never be anything. You can use those words and kind of sit with them. You don't have to believe them. You can just hear it, see how it makes you feel, and obviously that you don't want to become that, and that that's not going to happen. So you can just kind of laugh it off and say, watch, just wait till you just give me a few years, or just give me a few months, and you're just going to eat those words and watch what I do and watch how we change this world. So that's one of the best strategies that I can tell you in order to develop resilience. Just make sure that you're not sitting there and just kind of, taking in and taking on what everybody's saying about you. You take those words, you take those experiences and those events, and then you make your own resilience, and you just laugh at those things because it's not going to happen anyway. And the last one that I want to give you guys in order to develop this resilience is using the opportunities to learn from them and actually implement what you learn. So, I was having this conversation with this girl the other day, and it was late at night, and she was telling me that she was on her way in order to go see like her little sneaky link, or, somebody that she knew was not the best for her, right? That is not leading her to her greatest and highest good. So I asked her, why is it that she was doing these things? And she says, yeah, well, why is it that she was going to see the guy anyway? And she was just saying that, she needs more practice into actually implementing the things that she knows isn't serving her greatest and highest good. So she says that she's using this opportunity, and she's going to use it from that night going forward to learn from her mistakes and to really implement new strategies in her life to kind of have that resilience as well. So, that's what we need to do. Really kind of take and be aware of what's going on, and take the lessons that we learn and actually implement them in our lives in order to have that resilience. And there's so many different books out there, or even if you look up to a certain celebrity or somebody that you really admire, you could even read about their book, or just, hey, just ask them if it's somebody personal. Say, what is it that you do in order to really bounce back from all the things that have happened to your life or happened in your life? And I'm pretty positive they'll want to communicate and share their strategies of what they did in order to kind of have that sense of resilience, and to not let anything keep them down or make them stay down as well. So there's different things that we need to do, but like I said, and everything that I want to give you guys, I think education is the most important piece that we need, because if we don't know any better, how are we supposed to do any better? And in order to know better, we have to learn better. So whatever it is that you got to do, just make sure that you're learning to the greatest and highest good and the greatest highest ability, so we can implement these changes and really have that sense and that skill of being resilient as well. So now, there's, like I said, this episode is just absolutely flying by. We only have a few minutes left. And the next two topics that we're going to be talking about is living with your life with purpose, and also self-reflection. So we're just going to hear a word from the Power of We Symposium, which they're having a great event in October 24th or October 23rd. You'll see it in the commercial. But we're going to play the commercial, and I'm really excited about this event as well. It's going to be something special in the Chicagoland area, the Chicago area. And here's just their commercial, and I'm excited to share it with you. And thank you to the Power of We Symposium for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV.
5 years ago, the Power of We Symposium was created to provide a platform for kids from all sectors where they could have a safe and comfortable environment in which to share both their joys and concerns. The Power of We Symposium is proud to have served over 250 kids throughout Romania when we took our mission global back in May of 2023. Now, 2 teams of amazing volunteers from both the U.S. and Romania embarked on an 8-day Legacy of Hope tour, bringing encouragement and hope to not only the kids of Romania, but also the adults who support them, and also to over 100 kids here in the U.S. who contributed handwritten letters of hope to our Romania mission of 2023. Now, this year, we are proud to provide this opportunity yet again in October, and we are super excited to up our game. New venue, 750 kids this time, and we want to see you there. We're looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's event, which promises, as always, incredible speakers, amazing content, and of course, some of the greatest kids on the planet. So, mark your calendars for October 24th, and we'll see you here in Chicagoland for the Power of We Symposium 2024. This year's theme is Always Together, Never Alone. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or at powerofwesymposium.com.
So everybody, that was the Power of We Symposium, and thank you so much. I will be there, and thank you so much to the Power of We Symposium for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. So the next piece that I want to tell you guys, and like we're not able to give through all of them, honestly. So just take this one. We're just gonna, as you go, and like I said, if you have a piece of content or a piece of advice or strategy that you have for everybody in order to really live that life of happiness, fulfillment, and gratitude and purpose, please drop it in the comments as well. So finally, right here is I want to talk about living with purpose. And I was having a conversation before with a friend, and he was telling me that a lot of people don't really live their life with purpose. And I know it sounds, easy. It's like, yeah, of course not everybody does it. But he was saying that a lot of people don't think about the outcomes of anything that they're going to be doing. So a lot of people don't think about A, B, C, D, and E. Like if you take action A, they're not going to think about B, C, D, E. They just only go from A to B, B to C, and C to D as they're going through their life. And when you're living with purpose, you have to be purposeful with your decisions and your actions, right? Because if you're doing something with intention, you know that you're going to receive whatever it is that you're doing that action with, right? And if you're doing something with good intentions, you're just going to receive good things back. But, if you're out there with malice and trying to get over on people, you just know that you're going to receive more of that stuff back. So when it comes to living with purpose, please, you have to make sure that you're doing things with intention, with conviction, and you're doing it with a pure heart as well. Another piece to really embracing that change, or embracing that purpose and living with purpose, is embracing change. So with anything that's purposeful in this life, you are not going to be the same person that you are today. And that's a good thing, because when you start to embrace that change and you know that it's going to happen to you and that it's inevitable, then you can start to get excited about what changes will happen, and really you get to see them happen in real time. So even the same thing with, I know it's going to be a corny example, but it's the one that's coming to my mind right now. When you have a caterpillar, right, and it, you know, the butterflies that happen and that you see out there, they weren't always butterflies, right? They were a caterpillar at first, but their evolution and their, change is what made them what they are today. So that is where the magic really starts to happen, is when you really embrace that change, to understand that it's taking you to the road that you need to get to in order to be, your highest and greatest self. It's all leading you towards that great purpose in our lives. So when it comes with living a purpose, you have to really embrace that change and understand that it needs to happen, and in order for you to live your best life. And with change, it's one of the hardest things that's going to happen, but you have to let go. And letting go, we can kind of have an entire episode about that just in of itself. But a lot of people, I think, are afraid to let go because just become so comfortable with holding on to the things that they're holding on to, even if it doesn't serve them for their greatest and highest good, and they know that it's holding them back. But it's when we start to let go, that is when we start to leave room for the things that need to come into our life, that you have the space and the capacity to welcome these things into your life. So whether that's people, whether that's opportunity, whether that's a new change in scenery, whatever it is, you need to have that space and cultivate that space to let these things kind of come into your life. So like I said, when it comes to living with purpose, you have to embrace that change, and you have to let go of the things that don't serve you. And I promise you, when you let go of those things, you're not going to be missing out on anything. You're not going to be losing anything. All you have is just more to gain and just more happiness to really experience in our lives. So yeah, that's really such a big piece of the puzzle right now. If you have something that you know is not serving you, please do everything that you can to let it go, and just watch how your life starts to change for the better as well. And Jeanette says right here, especially if it doesn't serve us, we need to let it go. And that could be, something as simple as, or something as big as letting go of other people, to something as, a thought pattern, to something as simple as sugar, right? I know for me, sugar doesn't serve me, and it doesn't really get me to my greatest and highest good. But I just love it so much. And I've actually been taking the steps in my life in order to cut out sugar. And I know it's a really funny example, but like I said, it's something that I have deemed that it doesn't fit me and it doesn't serve me. So I got to let that go. And there's some different things that I've been doing. I want to share with you guys. It's one of the best tips, or one of the best things. If you have a sugar craving, I've been getting yogurt, just plain Greek yogurt, and putting like granola in it, and just like a little bit of honey as well. And that has been kicking my cravings. So there it is. If you're having trouble with sugar as well, if you're watching this, that is one of the greatest tips that I can give to you guys as well. Make sure you're shopping correctly too. Like if you know that you have a junk food problem or a sweets problem, when you're going to food shop, don't buy all of that stuff and have it in your house. Because I know for me, I don't have that self-control, that willpower to just be like, I'm just gonna let that sit there. Like, no, I'm gonna go and eat it because I like sweets. So yeah, just make sure you're doing everything that you can in order to avoid setting yourself for failure as well. Because like I said, if you're doing that, you're just giving yourself more room and just more chances to be tempted and to go down that bad path as well. So finally, self-reflection is just so important in order to live our greatest and highest good, because when we have that self-reflection, then we can see what different things that happen to us in our lives to really measure if we're doing the things that we're saying and holding ourselves accountable. So if we know that in the past, or the self-reflection pieces that we've been doing, if we don't have that to see to really measure if we're doing things that we say that we're doing, then it's not going to, you don't know if you're doing the right things or the wrong things, because again, you're just going through the motions of life. You're not really being intentional with what you're doing. And if you don't reflect on it, how are you supposed to know if you're making the right choices or the wrong choices? So, and they say that, you guys know the quote about history. History tends to repeat itself. So if you don't know the history of yourself or just kind of the world, then we're just doomed to repeat it and just kind of go through that cycle and that cycle. So self-reflection is such an important piece. And like I said, self-reflection doesn't necessarily have to be a scary piece too. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom and kind of feeling bad of not doing that choice. It can also be that sense of celebration as well, to say, wow, I've had so many great things happen to me in my life. That is a sense of self-reflection too, and you're just using it for the positive sense. So, don't always beat yourself up. Have that self-compassion and use that self-reflection for the good times that have happened to your life too, because it's not always bad. It's not always doom and gloom. But when we do take both, ends of it, and we see the positives and the negatives, it is just ultimately shaping us and really getting us to where we need to be in our lives as well. So, let's learn from our experiences with self-reflection. Let's celebrate our milestones. And the last tip that I'm going to give you for self-reflection too is we have to be aware of our strengths and our weaknesses as well. Because if we aren't aware of that, and we're not really finding what our weaknesses are and what our strengths are, then we don't have that self-identity and we don't know who we are, right? And we'll just go through life not really knowing who Dano is, or who Jeanette is, or who Lou is, or whoever's watching right now. You won't know who you are unless you really start to see what your strengths and your weaknesses are. So that's the show, everybody, for today. It has been an absolute joyride. I appreciate you watching this, whether you're watching live or on the replay, wherever you're watching from. If you're watching from your phone, if you're watching in America or London or anywhere in the world, thank you for sharing this hour with me and us with the Positivity Posse to really kind of pour into really to pour into each other, to pour into ourselves, and to really raise our own vibrations, and to know that we have that sense of community, and that we have this safe space for each other so we can continue to grow and feel great about one another as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll see you for the next episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And I just want to recap for you guys as well. In order to achieve the ultimate guide to happiness, just please really think about these 6 things. So number 1, the power of positive thinking. Number 2, overcoming obstacles. Number 3, being resilient or developing resilience. Number 4, the power of manifestation, and just really be conscious of the techniques for manifestation. Number 5, living with purpose. And number 6, we have self-reflection as well. So everybody, have a great, safe weekend. I hope these tips have helped you as much as I know that they helped me in my life. And that's why I really wanted to bring it to everybody, because I know they've worked for me. So I know they'll work for you as well. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you next time for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.